All right. Back to it now. My next guest, William Wagner, is the founder and president of Salt and Light Global and the Great Lakes Justice Center. Professor, good to have you back.
Hey, great to be back again, Steve.
Big week for the Great Lakes Justice Center. Last week, filing a lawsuit in collaboration with corroboration, a lot of other lawyers in federal court challenging the constitutionality of Proposition 3, the new constitutional provision creating a new super constitutional right of reproductive autonomy. That's in Michigan, but we also just saw it get voted in Ohio. This is happening all over the country. Gives doctors full immunity to commit abortions at any stage of gestation up to the moment of birth. Removes the ability to protect the mother. Lawsuit also announced at the March of Life at the state capitol in Lansing last week. So this is something that's going on. We just talked about in the break. We're seeing this move all over the country. Voters are going to the polls to apparently endorse the idea of abortion up to the moment of birth. I don't think most people actually agree with that, but it's sold in such a way because there's tons of money behind it promoting it that it goes through in Michigan, it goes through in Ohio, it'll go through elsewhere. In fact, I would say in 2024, abortion will be on the ballot in many states, wherever Democrats can get it to try to swing the election. Tell me about the lawsuit.
Well, this is a national story because Michigan went from the state that protected the life of the mother and the life of the unborn child better than any state in the country. We had state laws that were passed by the people's representatives that, did things like protect and require informed consent before you would be able to do these kind of things. And what happened is that a bunch of out-of-state residents spent millions of dollars, and quite frankly, in our lawsuit, we contend, misled, and we had basically out-of-state residents change the Michigan Constitution to create this super right, constitutional right, a kind, way above First Amendment freedom of speech, way above freedom of religion, way above due process, and basically make it impossible for legislators in the future to protect the life of the mother or to create protections for unborn children. And so
right. So here's what I've often wondered. Just because the voters vote for something doesn't make it legal or constitutional. I mean, if voters went to the polls and voted for slavery, it wouldn't make it legal or constitutional. That's just the most blatant example I can give. So that's basically what you're arguing, is that the voters, despite what they've done here, are at odds with constitutional protections and other laws. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because the U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the land. And so even a state constitutional provision cannot, like you said, make slavery legal, or what we are arguing here, remove federal constitutional rights of a parent to control and direct the upbringing of the child. For example, this new state constitutional right collides with the constitutional right of a parent to direct the federal constitutional right of a parent to direct the upbringing of their child. Because it allows, for, a school counselor, for example, to counsel a child all the way through a sex change without the knowledge or consent of a parent. And
that's an important point. I want to underscore that point. These bills that have been passed in Michigan and Ohio are not just about abortion. They encompass a whole bunch of other things that people did not actually realize, I think, until it was passed, right?
Well, that's correct. And worse than that, it changes the standard for future legislators even being able to try to restore protections. It prohibits basically, legislators from trying to write statutes that would regulate, the clinics and make sure that the clinics are safe and clean. I mean, now we don't even they don't have to do that. And legislators aren't in the future going to be able to, write laws that will be able to, because they will be struck down in violation of this new state super constitutional right for reproductive freedom. That's why, our founders, back in the 1787 and then later when they put the Bill of Rights into our U.S. Constitution, said, well, wait a minute, there's a reason that we have representative government here, because it protects against tyranny, it protects against a runaway outside of the state type of, it guarantees the U.S. Constitution guarantees to each state a representative form of government. And the reason for that is the founders understood that out-of-state residents could so impact the laws of another state that the people's rights would be taken away. And so that's exactly what's happened here. And so this lawsuit, in part, seeks to restore the constitutional framework that we've operated under for over 200 years.
Right. Here's the concern that I have about lawsuits. I don't disagree with your lawsuit. In fact, I think it's the right thing. The problem is, as we've seen, there is a kryptonite is what I would call abortion for the Republicans. Let me put it that way. And every time it remains in the public square and there's a conversation about it, Republicans pay a political price, a steep price. They get beaten. And we end up with socialists in office based on one issue because the Democrats and the socialists have sold the issue of abortion so very well. How do you have a lawsuit like this if Prop 3 gets tossed out or the Proposition Ohio gets tossed out, it puts it right back in the voters' hands again to defeat conservatives and the people that believe in this country? That's my concern.
Yeah. Well, Steve, I think that might be an accurate political analysis. The situation here, though, is I'm a lawyer, and my job is to represent the interests of my clients. And my clients here are the voiceless, the unborn child. We have unborn children that are our clients here. We have mothers and fathers of parents of children that are disabled who are clients here, and we're speaking for those that cannot speak for themselves. And so, as a lawyer, I have a higher duty than to assess the political landscape out there. I'm not a political scientist. I'm not a political consultant. I'm a lawyer who speaks for those who can't speak for themselves. And so, you may be right on the political analysis. I hope that lawsuits like this and that we can bring the heart of truth to the people and maybe change some hearts. I don't know if we'll be able.
Well, that would be helpful. But even in the state of Virginia, where Governor Glenn Youngkin supported a 15-week end for abortion, a 15-week max, he got beaten in the midterms or off-year elections here last week. In 15 weeks, the vast majority of Americans support that. If you go ask them, the vast majority of Americans think 15 weeks is a reasonable time to cut off abortion. People that don't like abortion or completely opposed to abortion, they're not happy. People that want an abortion up to the moment of birth, they're not happy. But in the end, 15 weeks seem to be a good place to be, and yet he gets throttled in the polls. So it is a political calculation.
Yep.
I'll give you the last word.
William Wilberforce was a member of Parliament during slave times, and he faced similar situations and the exact same political situation. And he was not able to end the slave trade in England until he found out that he did on his deathbed. But the way that he was able to do it was he took the issue right to the people, and instead of making it a political issue, he took the heart of truth to the people and changed their hearts. And so you're right, there is a political disadvantage, I think, right now, but in the end, when the truth does emerge, we will change the hearts of people. I hope. If we don't, then we're in a bigger problem in this nation than we might otherwise be anyways.
William Wagner, founder and president, Salt and Light Global. As always, Professor, thank you.
Thank you for what you do, Steve, every week.
Thank you. Greatly appreciate it. We'll take a break and be back. Don't go anywhere.